I'm Liz Faublas, and this is Currents. It's the Democrats' turn as their party convention gets underway in Charlotte, North Carolina. We'll get a preview.
The Democrats are going to have to really stand up and discuss and sort of counterpoint what the Republicans say they could do better.
And we'll head to a celebration in our own backyard, the annual West Indian American Day Parade.
It's an annual event which is very, very popular. Lots of people attend.
Plus a farewell in Milan for a prominent Cardinal. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Tonight's the night. The Democrats open their national convention tonight in Charlotte, North Carolina. First Lady Michelle Obama will be in the spotlight with a speech expected to help voters see President Obama as a husband and a father of two girls, Sasha and Malaya, and not just as the leader of the free world. Also tonight, a first for the DNC. San Antonio Mayor Julian Castro, a virtual unknown up until this point, will take the stage as the first Latino to give the keynote address in the convention's history. Now, many have likened this to an evening back in 2004 when a state senator from Illinois named Barack Obama delivered the keynote speech at the Democratic National Convention, a moment which catapulted him to national prominence. Now, what's interesting is these men share many similarities. Both were raised by single mothers. They graduated from Harvard Law School and successfully transcended racial politics. Now, many say Castro's appearance is intended to galvanize Hispanic voters. Well, President Barack Obama won't formally accept his party's nomination at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte until Thursday. But as always, we always try to give you some sense of what to expect, what to listen for, and why anything that happens at these conventions should even matter to you, our viewers. We'll listen intently for mention of the importance of religious freedom, the right to life and traditional marriage, and the state of the economy. Now, for a preview of this week's Democratic National Convention, I spoke with Brian Kasuba of the Catholic Citizens Committee. Brian, thank you so much for coming back. You know, we always love having you here with us. We are on the eve of the Democratic National Convention now. Now, before we get started, I want to do a little bit of background on you, nothing to panic about. And I always say these things to say that, you know, you are here because, you know, you've seen the process from both sides. You've been very active in the political process your whole life, actually. It's been a vocation, it's been a passion. So you see what the impact of being active voters and active in politics can be. Can you explain a little bit about the importance of that from your point of view?
Yeah, it's great to be here again, Liz. You know, I've been in politics since 1997 and worked for elected officials as well as worked on political campaigns, a lot of local elective campaigns, but also statewide. Did a little work in the primaries in New Hampshire last presidential election. But it is important. You know, I was on one race where the total vote was decided by less than 20 votes. It is important to get involved. It's important to be active. It's important to really rally around issues and candidates and ideals to change the political process.
Now, as we enter the Democratic National Convention, do you think that they're at any type of disadvantage right now? How much of it is going to be solely based on comparisons from the Republican National Convention? Will they say anything that's different?
It's interesting. When you go second, it's got advantages and disadvantages. The advantages are that you are able to respond to everything that was said a week before. So as the Republicans laid out, really hitting hard on the economy, speaking about national security and foreign issues. The Democrats are going to have to really stand up and discuss the presidency's record on the economy and sort of counterpoint what the Republicans say they could do better and discuss that. So that's important.
And granted that given that these are separate parties, they do have different points of view on so many things that impact our lives. For our purposes now, we are going to talk about the DNC and how it affects Catholicism. They don't have a very good record with regard to the way they support the issues that are important to us. What are you looking to hear from them tonight that might show maybe they are going to show a little bit more support, or do you expect to hear more of the same, especially with regard to issues like the HHS mandate?
Exactly. I mean, that's the key thing they need to focus on. You know, we've discussed at length how Catholics really are that swing vote. The Democrats realize in this election they need those voters. They've sort of, you know, disenfranchised them a little bit with what happened with the HSS mandate, and they really need to make a point to speak to those Catholic swing voters and to make sure that they are, not, or try to make the case that they're not going after First Amendment, religious freedom issues. That is important. I think another thing which they will try to focus on is discuss a little bit about, social issues as it pertains to immigration. Here in the diocese, we have a great Catholic migration office. A lot of Catholics, especially in New York City, are immigrants. The Democrats can try to at least talk to those issues and see how they can be supportive to Catholic rights in those ways.
A lot of times it seems that we're just playing a numbers game and a demographics game. It comes down to white voters, black voters, and of course the all-important religious vote too. We have Michelle Obama speaking tonight. We had, of course, Ann Romney speaking last week, to rally what they're calling the female vote. We have Cory Booker speaking to rally, just another demographic. How much of that really plays a part in how these conventions and these delegates and these, candidates connect with people from your vantage point and your experience?
I think at the end of the day, it really comes down to what Romney's saying versus what Obama's saying. Mm-hmm. The Republicans did do a good job last week speaking to women. They had a slew of women speakers, and they really tried to go after that demographic. The Democrats will try to do that, but at the end of the day, it's going to be President Obama in the Oval Office. Not Michelle, not Cory Booker, not these other demographics. Mm-hmm. It's what he's going to be saying when he gives this speech the other in a couple of nights. Which will be the main thing that resonates with the voters. Okay, and more importantly, of course, getting out there, getting the vote out there. I know you're so active in doing that. I know the committee is still active in rallying the vote, making sure our voices are heard. In the time that we have left, just let us know how we can get involved, what you're doing. You're setting up tables outside of some parishes. I know Bishop DiMarzio has been extremely active in supporting you and your efforts, so let us know what to do. Yeah, the bishop's been great, and he's the reason why we've been able to be as successful as we are. We've had great working partnerships with the pastors throughout the diocese, with the local community groups, and anyone who wants to do a drive at their parish, reach out to the Catholic Citizens Committee, mm-hmm. and we will help you run those drives. The deadline to vote for to register to vote for the general election is early October, so there's still time to do that. We also encourage people to vote in the primaries next week. There are important primaries right here in New York City mm-hmm. next week, and we want people to make sure that they know if they have to go vote and to vote their faith.
All right, Brian, as always, so great to have you here. I just want to let our viewers know that you will be back. We would love to have you back just to talk a little bit more about the election, about the campaign, and about voter registration. But again, thank you for being here today.
Always a pleasure, Liz. Thank you.
And of course, stay with Currents all this week for more on the Democratic National Convention. But don't go anywhere. There's more Currents straight ahead. A shocking turn of events in a blasphemy case out of Pakistan. That and the rest of the day's headlines are next. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Liz Faultless. Work is more than a paycheck. The words of Stockton Bishop Stephen Blair in the U.S. Bishop's Labor Day statement. Bishop Blair chairs the Bishop's Committee on Domestic Justice and Human Development. In the statement, he said that work, quote, helps raise our families, develop our potential, share in God's creation, and contributes to the common good. In their statement, the bishops say that they are seeking a renewal that places families at the center of economic life. And in other news, a controversial religious figure, the founder and leader of the Unification Church, has died. CNN's Paula Hancock has more.
A self-declared messiah, Reverend Sun Myung Moon, was known around the world. His Unification Church claims millions of global followers, although that is disputed, rising to fame decades ago with its mass weddings. Reverend Moon officiated as thousands of couples from around the world exchanged their vows, many of them meeting for the first time at the ceremony. He believed cross-nation and cross-culture marriages would help world peace. Kit and Debbie Ma from Oregon in the United States joined one mass wedding to renew their vows back in 2000.
We're all here dedicating our lives to God, our future families, to raising the children up in our faith.
Reverend Moon founded his church in 1954, after the Korean War. During the war, he was imprisoned in North Korea before being released by the Allies, but his strong anti-communist feelings softened in later life. In 1991, he met with founder Kim Il-sung and invested money in the country. Reverend Moon was certainly not without detractors. Many critics accuse the church of being a cult. Stephen Hassan is a former follower, or Moonie, as they are widely known.
He was incredibly narcissistic and arrogant. It was all about him and what he wanted. It was very judgmental. He was very hypocritical. He was a racist. He thought the Koreans were the master race.
Reverend Moon also built up a substantial business empire for his church. Its portfolio includes the Washington Times, a hotel in New York, and businesses in both North and South Korea. He spent time in a US federal prison in the mid-80s for tax evasion. The church claims the prosecution was politically motivated. In 2008, Moon handed over the day-to-day running of his empire to his youngest son, the Reverend Hyung Jin Moon, who said his father had suffered a number of illnesses in recent years.
And that report from CNN's Paula Hancock. Well, a shocking development in a story from Pakistan. An imam is charged with planting evidence on a disabled Christian girl accused of blasphemy. The imam is currently in custody and accused of planting pages from the Quran, among other burnt pages, in a bag that the girl was carrying. According to reports, the girl is around 14 years old and may have Down syndrome. She is being held in a maximum security prison. Islamabad's police chief says that the imam is now charged with blasphemy. There's no word yet on what the latest news may mean for the girl's case, and in an earlier letter to Pakistan's president, a group of 6 U.S. senators had called for her release. Turning now to Syria, where a rebel group in the city of Aleppo has pledged to protect Christians there. The Free Syrian Army says it will strengthen relations with all the country's population to build a future Syria. The group also called on Christians to join its revolution. Violence has been ongoing in Syria ahead of the Pope Benedict's trip to neighboring Lebanon. The Vatican has said that the Holy Father's trip will proceed as planned. Pope Benedict sent a message to a gathering of young people sponsored by the Catholic Focolare movement that took place in Budapest over the weekend. And in that message sent through the Vatican Secretary of State, the Pope imparted his apostolic blessings to all taking part in the event known as GenFest. Rome Reports has more on that gathering.
More than 12,000 youths from 104 countries and even different religions. They all made their way to Budapest with one mission in mind. To understand different cultures, to hear different languages, see different races and denominations. Well, if each one of us can learn from one another, I think we can truly achieve a true universal brotherhood and a united world. The big reunion is called GenFest. The 10th edition was celebrated in Budapest under the theme To Build Bridges of Brotherhood. The idea is simple, to instill respect among different cultures and creeds so that eventually we may have a healthier world. To really get the word out, the speeches were translated into 27 languages. I couldn't wait to get here to celebrate with all of you. GenFest is definitely a celebration. The gathering was born thanks to late Chiara Lubich, the founder of the Catholic Focolare movement, who in these meetings saw the power of universal respect. Years later, even Hungary's parliament welcomed GenFest.
It was a very proud moment for me representing India at the parliament. As you know, India is a vast country of various religions, cultures.
For myself, I can say that being a part of this was an incredible experience because I really wanted to be that 100%.
But the mission of GenFest isn't just about ideas, but practicality. So a big part of the meeting was based on talking about real-world life examples and real conflicts. People from the Cairo, the Holy Land, Burundi, and even a Buddhist Thai group talked about how respect changes the playing field. In this year's meeting, the United World Project was also launched. The initiative hopes to promote universal brotherhood through individuals, groups, and nations under the golden rule of do unto others as you would have them do to you.
And popular American priest Father Benedict Groeschel is stepping down as host of an EWTN program. The decision comes after the publication last week of an interview in which Father Groeschel made controversial statements on child sex abuse by priests. Father Groeschel apologized for his remarks, saying that his mind is not as clear as it used to be. The 79-year-old priest was severely injured after being hit by a car in 2004 and suffered a stroke in 2009. Stay tuned. There's more currents ahead. Coming up, skies may have been overcast, but spirits were bright at the annual West Indian Day Parade.
West Indians and people from the Caribbean are expressing all the different dimensions of their culture. And the Catholic Church is the heart of that culture in the West Indies.
Welcome back. Well, Labor Day is an opportunity to recognize the workers who contribute socially and economically to the life of the country. It's also that one final day that marks the unofficial end of summer before work again picks up and children head back to school. And as is the case every Labor Day, the West Indian American Day Parade took place along Eastern Parkway here in Brooklyn. Now, skies may have been overcast, but the rain managed to stay away, leaving plenty of opportunity to dance, listen to music, and of course, sample all that great food the parade had to offer. The Brooklyn Diocese again took part, kicking off the celebration with Mass at St. Matthew's Church in Crown Heights before heading outside to join the festivities.
Today we're at St. Matthew's Church. We're here because of the celebration of the West Indian Day Parade. It is Labor Day, and it is the tradition over 40 years now that the West Indian community of all of the people in the Caribbean celebrate together this celebration of their heritage.
It's an annual event which is very, very popular. Lots of people attend.
I'm so happy because I'm going to celebrate the parade, the Labor Day Parade. But first, I'm going to celebrate in my church.
West Indians and people from the Caribbean are expressing all the different dimensions of their culture. And one of the dimensions is a religious dimension, especially worship of Jesus Christ. And the Catholic Church is the heart of that culture in the West Indies.
Being that we had the different communities, it just shows that we are one family, united by one, which is the Eucharist. And for me, is that I felt very, very blessed to be in the Mass. We need to carry that light. So we're hoping through prayers that we'll be able to bring that light to others through our procession on the pathway.
We bring love of Jesus, love of one another, and the joy of our faith out onto this street, out onto this parkway today. And we want to share that with everybody.
We like to bring peace into the community as well. So seeing the Catholic community in the parade might make people feel comfortable and welcome to our religion.
I got two favorite parts. One is the Mass. The Mass is always so beautiful, and we're nourished by Jesus at the Mass, and then just being out on the parkway, jumping up for Jesus. And literally, the music makes you want to jump.
And stay tuned, there's more currents ahead. When we return, a tireless shepherd for the church is laid to rest. And finally tonight, he was a giant figure in the life of the church, and on Monday, a final goodbye. Rome Reports has more.
The current Archbishop of Milan, Cardinal Angelo Scuola, presided over the funeral of his predecessor, Cardinal Carlo Maria Martini, who passed away after a long fight with Parkinson's disease. The Pope didn't attend the funeral, but he did send Cardinal Angelo Comastri as his personal representative. During the Mass, he read the Pope's message.
Il Signore, che ha guidato il Cardinale Carlo Maria Martini in tutta la sua esistenza, accolga questo instancabile servitore del Vangelo e della Chiesa nella Gerusalemme del cielo. A tutti i presenti e a coloro che ne piangono la scomparsa, giunga il conforto della mia benedizione.
His wake lasted 3 days. During that time, roughly 200,000 people prayed before his coffin to pay their final respects. About 20,000 people attended his funeral mass at Milan's cathedral, while thousands more followed the mass through big screens installed outside the cathedral.
Carissimi, siamo qui convocati dalla figura imponente di questo uomo di Chiesa per esprimergli la nostra commossa gratitudine. In questi giorni, ma anche ora sulla piazza e in questo Duomo, una lunga folla di credenti e non credenti si è resa a lui presente.
During his last years, Cardinal Martini lived in Jerusalem, where he promoted dialogue between believers and non-believers.
Il Cardinal Martini non ci ha lasciato un testamento spirituale nel senso esplicito della parola. La sua eredità è tutta nella sua vita e nel suo magistero e noi dovremo continuare ad attingervi a lungo. Ha però scelto la frase da porre sulla sua tomba, tratta dal salmo già citato dal Santo Padre: lampada per i miei passi è la tua parola, luce sul mio cammino. In tal modo egli stesso ci ha dato la chiave per interpretare tutta la sua esistenza e il suo ministero.
After the ceremony, the remains of the cardinal were buried in one of the chapels of the cathedral. Martini was rector of the Gregorian University in Rome when back in 1979, John Paul II appointed him Archbishop of Milan. He held that position for 23 years, and during that time it said he was on the so-called papabili list, meaning papal candidates. Since his death at the age of 85, the international press has highlighted his role in strengthening dialogue between the Church and the modern world.
And in his weekly editorial, Vatican spokesman Father Federico Lombardi said that Cardinal Martini, through his words, writing, and pastoral initiatives, was able to, quote, effectively witness and proclaim the faith to the people of our time. Well, that is all for tonight. Coming up on Wednesday, our continuing coverage of the Democratic National Convention. We'll also hear all about an upcoming conference in Queens on the life of Pope John Paul I. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Liz Faubles. We leave you tonight with sunny skies and the scenery along Rome's Tibor River. Thank you for watching and have a good night.